If you were making a racing game, would you forget to put races in the game? Well, the people that made The Crew did. There's barely any races at all in that game. And the dumb story is about a gang that races cars for some reason. And somehow that means you can catch the bad guy. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense, does it? And they have like real life racetracks in the game, and none of them have races on them. They just forgot. The game was almost finished being developed a couple of years ago. It came out in 2014 or whatever, and everybody's sitting around. They're saying, "Man, something I forgot. This feels like I forgot to do something, but what was it?" And then they go into their game and they say, "Oh no, we forgot to put races in our racing game." Oh, that's okay. We can just release it as is. And they didn't have a way to make your own races either. Eventually they added it, but they hid the ability to do it. And they have this stupid share code for it. You can't see other people's races in the game. You can only access the race through somebody's code that they give you. Why? Going from Seattle to Miami is supposedly 98 miles in the game, which isn't true because they've inflated the speed numbers, so you're actually going significantly slower than what the speedometer says. So it's not as though the 98 miles is much smaller. Like, with all that space, you think somebody would say, maybe we should have a way for people to make their own races. And they didn't. They just forgot. They said it was 2014. And they said, nah, this game's coming out in 2014. Making races is some far off future technology. It's impossible today. Like the game Hard Driving back in the 90s, early 90s, by the way, that game didn't have an editor for the racetracks at all. Like you might remember it, but that was because you're from the Berenstain universe, not the Berenstain universe. Over in the other universe, they had it, but not in this universe because it's impossible. And we know that because the Crew didn't have any race creation features. I didn't make any races on the damn racetracks in the game. I don't know why they put the racetracks in the game if you can't race on them. They have their dumb little MMO quests on there. That's it. You can't race any cars. And I think the tracks are actually much thinner. Like they're the same size as in real life, except the tracks are thinner. Like the racetrack is thinner than in real life. That's weird. If I made a racing game, I wouldn't forget to put races in the game. I'd have a lot of races in the game. If I had an open world racing game, I would make sure you had a way to make races. Because all those roads, you got all those roads there, and you say, well, let's not let them make their own races on any of these roads. And the DLC in the game makes no sense to me. They have this thing called the Summit. I have no clue how that works. Like there's stuff in the game, and I don't know what that is. There's events for it at certain times of the month for some reason. I don't know how any of it works, and there's no explanation in the game. Well, there is a help file, but the help entry for it doesn't help at all. It just says, this is the summit. Do events, and something will happen. Like, I have no clue what the access pass is. Like, it tells me, go buy the access pass if you want to get into the summit. I'm like, what is that? And then all of a sudden, one day, it says, buy the access pass for 10,000 the Crew bucks. Like, what happened? Why did it suddenly change? I don't know. They didn't tell you. And then they have the calling all cars. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be. Is I guess cop races, cops chasing after people. You can be a cop chasing after racers. Of course, they implement it in the dumbest way possible. All you have to do is get close to the racer, and a countdown starts. That's all you have to do. You don't actually have to stop them or do anything. You just get close to them, and the countdown starts. And once you're close to them, there's no way they're getting away. Like if you get close to them and you do your EMP, well, they're done. I mean, if you don't do the EMP, they're done because they can't. There's no way to get away. And they got all these different cars. I don't get it. Why are there so many different cars? I understand the different specs because some are faster and some are better on dirt or whatever. Why are there so many different cars? Aren't they all the same? Why wouldn't I want to use the best car there is? What purpose would I have? I assume that's why there's different cars, is some of them are worse than the others, but I don't know why I'd want to pick the worst ones on purpose. And there's no way for me to know which ones are the good ones and the bad ones unless I look it up online. And people online were saying the Ford GT is the best one. Look, there's a whole bunch of Ford GT cars. I don't mean in the specs, I mean like Ford GT something or other. There's like a 60s looking one, and then a race car looking one, and then there's another one I can't remember now. Which Ford GT is it, guys? And then you have to do this weird thing where you're leveling up your parts. You can go into the headquarters or the tuner or whatever, and if you try to buy parts, it says go out and do the skills challenges so you can buy the parts. But that's not how it works. When you do the skill challenge, you get the part and you install it right then and there. You don't have to buy it. So apparently that they must have had that originally and they just forgot to take it out. Because as far as I know, the only thing you can buy are the kits. So you don't have to level up your car from the bottom, from level 1 or whatever. I mean, I just assume they forgot. It takes forever to level up a car. They got the smart loot thing, and it's not very smart at all. It seems if you're like going from a low level car and trying to level it up, it doesn't just jump you up to the highest level. No, you've got to go through like a billion skills. And then the car is just going to be as fast as any of your other cars. So like, well, just tell me which one's the best cars for each spec, and I'll just use those. I don't have any reason to use slower cars or cars that are harder to drive. So what's the point? The multiplayer is dumb. It's the entire theme park version of the country. I think you can only have 7 or 8 other people in multiplayer at a time, and you can't decide who it is unless you're in a crew. But other than that, you just got these 7 or 8 other people in the world, and that's it. Originally, the multiplayer racing only worked with those people. So if you wanted to go start a race with anybody, it would only try to match with the people that are already with you, which is idiotic. And now the matchmaking just plain doesn't work, as far as I can tell. Or maybe I didn't want to wait 10 years for the race to start up. And they make you grind levels. Because there's so few races in the game, but there's a one race called Shiv. All you have to do is just go straight, take an immediate left, the first left chance you get, just go really fast. That's it. It's a chase. It's one of the chase races, which are really shitty and based completely on luck, except for this one. This one, all you have to do is take a left on the very first time you can take a left on the road. Just go really fast, so they can't catch up. And this race proves that they just randomly spawn crap out in front of you, because I grinded out a couple levels on the Shiv mission. I think it's called Shiv. I don't know. It's over in California. And most of the time, I had nobody out in front of me. Every now and then, the game would just spawn cars out in front of me. Most of the time, it didn't. So apparently, yes, the game does spawn cars out in front of you. Oh, and they forgot that this was a multiplayer game from the get-go, and I was doing the crate stuff from Calling All Cars, and the cop cars and the other player car, because you can join other players in this. Like, I don't know why it took them so long to do this, but they would just be jumping all over the place, and this was from different people. Even the cop cars were doing it, and it's like the game had no clue you were even there, because these cop cars, they would just spawn in out of nowhere right in front of me, constantly. And of course, that proves that the game does in fact spawn in stuff right in front of you and behind you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I could ram into the cop cars; they didn't care. I had my little EMP skill. If I do that for no reason at all, the cop cars go flying off the road. Even if it's a straight road, for no reason at all, the driver jerks the wheel all the way over to the left or right. I don't know why. I guess that's supposed to be exciting. It might be exciting if the crate stuff was actually interesting, but it's not. It's just drive fast. The game. There's nothing more to it. And apparently there's paid stuff there's a free version. There's free stuff from the Calling All Cars, like the crate missions. But then there's a really crappy story with some of the worst voice actors ever if you buy the DLC. I did not buy the DLC, but when I started up the game, I was forced into some crappy cutscene. Or was I? I can't remember. I probably was. I think maybe I started the mission. And the worst voice actor ever appeared. And not just even bad voice acting. They had a crappy microphone that's worse than the one I use. It goes off whenever my that goes crackle, crackle, crackle when my failing pacemaker turns on. That's my excuse for the crackle here. I'm pretty sure it's because of my hands covering up the microphone. And The Crew 2 is coming out. I hope they fix everything. Somebody said the problems in The Crew were because it was in development hell for like 10 years. That makes sense, because if you come in and replace what the last people had, you gotta start over. And if you quit, then the next people have to do the same thing do it over and over again. And so I guess they just went with whatever was there, and they didn't know why anything was there, and they said, "Oh well, who cares?" Driving around in the U.S. is pretty fun, though. I like that. I just like cruising around in my automobile. I pretend I'm Sonic. They should have had a Sonic car. It's like Sonic the Hedgehog. Gotta go fast. I bet The Crew 2 is going to be in Europe. If they just have another version of the U.S., that'll perturb me. Because like, we've already been in the U.S. Let's wait 10 years for technology to mature, for your software technology to mature, so you can make it cooler. So I hope it's like in Europe, because there's mountains and stuff there. I won't know what anything is there. So that sounds seeing all the landmarks in The Crew is pretty cool. I like that. And you're just driving along, and you see these theme park versions of cities and landmarks. And there's a lot of stuff to see in the game too. Like, they don't just copy and paste things. Like, there's tons of unique things. Even the cop cars have unique textures for the different areas in the game. Like, you'll see like St. Louis cops in St. Louis and Chicago cops in Chicago and whatever. So a lack of visual variety is not a complaint for me. And when I play Forza Horizon 3, I feel down and bad because I can't cruise very far. Like, there's a big highway stretching across the map. It's not that long. Well, this is going on 15 minutes, so later on I'm going to sing a song about my cat. So I hope you guys enjoy that.